It's the Infectious Groove Podcast, recorded at the 33 and 3rd Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Now here's your host.
Hello, and welcome to episode 18 of the Infectious Groove Podcast. Michelle and Kyle, y'all ready for this?
Yeehaw!
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Well, that's two emphatic thumbs up, in my opinion, about this episode. This time out, we are continuing our discussion on live albums. This is Live Albums Disc 2, if you will, and we're talking about some of our favorites. We have a whole bunch of listener feedback to share, which I think is going to carry us through the entire first half of the show, which is rad. And then our usual segments at the beginning will kick things off, and we've got some pretty exciting news to share at the end of the show after the main top. So stick around with us. Let's get right to it.
Music news.
Kyle, what, if anything, is going on right now?
Holy shit, it's been a very, very, very slow week in music news. There has been little to nothing that I've heard of any importance going on, at least.
Which, to be honest, I'll take. I mean, it was, for a couple weeks there, it seems like we were like, oh, we lost this legend and then this legend. You know, the R&B community lost a legend. The entirety of music world lost a legend with Little Richard. Americana, folk, and country and good songwriting lost a legend with John Prine. So I will take a quiet music week.
Yeah, in this case, no news is good news.
Yeah, absolutely. We did, however, get some feedback from our Facebook page, which kind of ties into last week's music news, and I think you have it.
Yeah, Michelle had mentioned on last week's episode that she wished that there was a Little Richard biopic, and it turns out that there is. Chris Adams notified us via Facebook that that was an actual thing.
It was just sweet.
Yeah. I had no idea, so.
I'm definitely going to have to look into it.
Yeah, me too, which is great. It's one of the things that comes from this show for me is I love getting my homework. Like I keep hearing from listeners, oh, I got turned on to this band. Oh, I haven't heard that song in forever, you know, so it's great for me to be like, oh, I have to watch that movie now. Oh, I have to listen to that band now. Oh, I have to check out that song, you know.
Yeah.
Love it.
So you like being told what to do?
Oh, yeah. See, I'm not a ornery, stubborn person, so I'm totally fine with people helping me out in my life.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am pleasant.
That's not true. Moving right along, our jammy. Going to move into our Jammy Jams, inarguably the most celebrated segment in the history of podcasting. For me, I have been on such a Stevie Wonder kick this week, it's not even funny. Stevie Wonder, just as an FYI, celebrated 70 trips around the sun this past week, and it was just all over my news feed every time I turned around. So I busted out. For me personally, I think you cannot touch Stevie's 70s output. His run of records, and the one you always hear about in the 70s is Songs in the Key of Life, and I'm not discounting that record by any stretch of the imagination, but he's got other records during that run, Intervisions, Music of My Mind, Talking Book, that are just insane. Like every single song on every one of those records is just mind-blowing, and I could sit here and list off like the entire track listing for every one of those records and be like, oh, you gotta hear the song, oh, you gotta hear the song, oh, you gotta hear the song. But one song that I would tell everybody, if you really haven't dug into 70s output from Stevie Wonder, check out a song called Living for the City, which is, in my opinion, criminally underrated. Like, if you talk to somebody about Stevie Wonder in the 70s, they're going to talk about My Cherie Amour, Superstition, pretty much they'll go right to Songs in the Key of Life. But that song, Living for the City, is just, everything about it is perfect. It's great social commentary. It's great vocals. The instrumentation is insane. The groove is out of control. Like, it's actually, the lyrics of the song are kind of a depressing commentary on the economic climate of the time. But the groove of the song is so happy that you'll just kind of be bopping while you're listening to it and you're hearing about this. It's kind of like when Elvis would do In the Ghetto Live. It was like upbeat, and if you weren't listening to the message of the song, you'd be like, oh, this is a happy song. And then when you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh no. So that, for me, it's been all Stevie this week, and specifically 70s Stevie. So I'm real happy to have been reminded, and I'm also happy we have Stevie with us after 70 years. So let's see here. Michelle, you are up. What have your Jammy Jams been?
Well, you know that song Carole Baskin is the cover of Savage?
Sure.
By Megan Thee Stallion. That has been stuck in my head for weeks now, and I sing it constantly.
Wait,
so I wouldn't
which
say
version?
It's not Savage, the Carole Baskin one.
Oh, the one that the guy did for TikTok.
Yeah. Yep.
I get
So
it.
like,
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning singing it. I'm in the shower singing it.
I just want to say
So-
real quick, as a window into things for listeners of the show, prior to going on the air, we were having a discussion about why people get upset with Michelle about certain comments she makes on the show, and she was just flabbergasted and didn't understand why people have take issue with some things that she says. So I'm not saying anything's one is better than the other, but I do want to just point out something. I just went on a 5-minute tirade about one of the greatest musical geniuses that we've ever known on this planet. And then you started your segment with, you know that song, Carol Baskin?
Do you even TikTok, bro? That's all I got to say.
No, I do not even TikTok, bro. I TikTok when you send me links, and then I open up whatever link you send me. I laugh a little bit, tell you I laughed harder than I did, and then close it again.
That's exactly what I do. That's weird.
Anyway,
guys are-
so
you guys
I'm sorry,
are-
you were talking
You
about...
guys are pre-ruining my birthday.
You were
Sorry to know that.
talking about the rock of musical achievement, Carol Baskin. Please go on.
So that's just been an earworm. But today, the Dixie Chicks released a new single, Juliana Calm Down. And I found out about it this afternoon, like probably 3 hours ago. And I've listened to it probably 5 or 6 times since then. Like, it's been a jam. I highly recommend it if you like the Dixie Chicks. Even if you don't, Kyle said that he is not a fan of the Dixie Chicks. And if he can get past the point of it being the Dixie Chicks, then he likes it, right?
Right on.
Yes.
Yeah, I still need... That's another one I still need to check out.
Yeah. And then Mumford & Sons has a garage version of a song called Forever, which is just, you'd have to listen to it. It's on Spotify as well.
A
It's just a
garage
different
version,
take.
you say? That word garage rock, that term is going to come back later in the episode, but go on.
Yeah. So that has been my jam as well lately. I did spend the first half of the week listening to a lot of The Weeknd. So that was what took up the majority of my week.
A lot of The
Pearl
Weeknd
Jam.
and Pearl Jam 10, which features, in your words, a so-so opener called Once, which is
Yeah,
what
it's just so-so.
I got a lot of feedback on. But we'll cover that later. That's part of the whole bonus episode situation. That's what you've been listening to?
That's what I've been listening to this week.
Kyle, what are you filling your ear holes with?
Less, it was only been one thing. Well, one main thing this week. Usually I'm bouncing around between a bunch of different shit, but this week it's been NF's new album, The Search. If anybody doesn't know who NF is, he's a white dude that's a rapper, and he gets compared to Eminem a lot for the way he sounds.
Isn't he from Detroit?
No.
Oh, my bad.
As a
he is
total side
from-
note, not to derail you, I kid you not, I thought you said NS at first, and just NS is the vocalist for a German industrial band called KMFDM. So I was like, really? And then when you clarified it, I was like, not a white guy, but not German industrial. Got it.
Yeah, to clarify, it's NF. Like,
right.
Yeah, NF. just the two letters together.
Right.
Like
after E and before G, F.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You could not think of one word that starts with the letter F?
Fudge.
I was going to say Nancy farts, but I decided to not say that, okay?
Salad.
I wonder if that's what it stands for.
Salad.
He is from Michigan, not from Detroit. He gets compared to Eminem a lot because of the way he sounds and his delivery, though he chooses not to cuss any of his music. So you can whatever. Listen
Will
to
Smith
your
don't
kids
got to cuss in his
around.
raps to sell records.
Yeah, and it's I don't even know. It's just I've been listening to him for quite a while. Like he has, I think, 4 albums.
And he had a new one come out, or you just went back to listening to what he already had?
This is the newest one. It came out, I want to say, like a year ago, maybe.
Sweet.
But yeah, it's just I get hooked in it, and I can listen to it front to back. And Michelle will tell you, I have it queued up in my CD player in my car right now. So
very nice. What else is it? That pretty much you've been listening to him?
I was browsing around on like the new release stuff on Spotify, like Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande have a new song together. James Vincent McMorrow put out a new single, which I dig. I dig all of his stuff, but
right on. What type of music does he do? The name doesn't ring a bell for me.
Michelle, what would you call that music?
He's very much like Louis Capaldi, Dermot Kennedy. I don't know what you would call that. What do you call that, Russ?
Folky?
Yeah, it's kind of folky, upbeat folky.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, good. Well, yet another thing for me to look into, which is pretty sweet. Moving over to our main topic, we have a ton of feedback that we're very, very, very thankful for. Last week, we kind of ended the episode with a call to action and said, hey, get on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and tell us your thoughts on live albums, some of your favorites, some of your cool stories, so on and so forth. And we had just a ton of interaction, which I thought was awesome. So thank you so much for that. I know all the time I say, hey, you can support us at Anchor and, thanks for the support and whatnot, but this is as or more valuable to us than the dollar. So we greatly appreciate that. So I will tell you this, Kyle, the feedback that I have started it off with a couple of really good suggestions for you to look into, one of which we're going to circle back to in the second half about the general topic. It was suggested that you check out Jay-Z Unplugged. Have you ever listened to that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I said that rap is terrible live, but
And in your defense, it is.
I could retract that statement for listening to that, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll get into, I'm going to circle back to this in the second half. We'll get into at least my theory as to why. I'm going to ask you guys about why you think that rap isn't very good live, or you rarely see the live records. But yeah, that Jay-Z album is an exception to the rule in every way.
Yes,
so,
it sure is.
The other one, and I don't know if you've heard this, but I couldn't be more behind this suggestion if I tried. There was a user that pointed out you should listen to A Little South of Sanity by Aerosmith, which is, I want to say, right after the Nine Lives tour. It's like, I think it came out like 97 or 98. And one thing to know about Aerosmith is they, off the top of my head, they have Live Bootleg, which came out in the mid 70s. They have Classics Live 1 and 2, which came out in like 82 or 83. And I know there's another one I'm forgetting, but then they have A Little South of Sanity. And the cool thing about Little South of Sanity is it literally covers their entire repertoire. So you have, of course, Dream On and Walk This Way, but you also have like Same Old Song and Dance, Mama Kin, like stuff from the 70s that they were playing at that time and really kicking its ass. Then, of course, Janie's Got a Gun, What It Takes, Living on the Edge, all that stuff. And so it's like a really good time capsule for their entire career, and they were absolutely on fire on that tour. So if you've never heard that live record, you should really look into that.
I have never heard it, and you sold me at Live Aerosmith, so I'm looking at that.
There are some bad ones out there. It's funny because Classics Live 1 was recorded over the course of the late 70s, and Classics Live 2 was recorded after they got back together and they were sobered up. And if you listen to the difference between those two records, it's like night and day. Like most of the songs on Classics Live 1, you're like, were they awake for these proceedings? Or, so that's kind of funny. We got some really, really, really good callbacks of some 80s type material. Our friend John left a comment saying Dokken Beast from the East was one of, I think, is his all-time favorite live record. And that's another one where, like, if you like Dokken, they do everything they do right on that live album. Kiss Alive 3 is another one he pointed out, which there are 4 Kiss Alive records, believe it or not. 4. And me personally, I didn't grow up with 1 and 2. I get their place in music history, but they're not for me. 3 is the best lineup of Kiss that there ever was. And it's like the Aerosmith record where it covered, like, if I was going to tell someone to buy one Kiss album, it would be Alive 3, because it has songs from their entire career. Like if you like, let's say you hear Detroit Rock City on the radio one day and you're like, I want to know what, the rest of Kiss is about. That one album is all you need. It will tell you everything you need to know about the rest of Kiss. So if either of you are remotely interested in Kiss, do that.
I didn't know you would ever recommend a live Kiss album ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like I say, that lineup, it's Bruce Kulick on guitar, Eric Singer on drums, and then of course Paul and Gene. And those two guys replacing Peter and Ace are like infinitely more talented instrument wise. So when they do the 70s stuff, they put their own little flair on it, and it's pretty rad. Plus, a lot of the show was recorded here in Detroit, and a lot of it was recorded over in Cleveland, so that's kind of a plus. I don't think I was at that show. I've actually seen Kiss more times than I care to admit, but I don't think I was actually at that show. I did see that tour, though, the Revenge tour. You're never going to believe this, but the Facebook page and Twitter got a ton of call-outs for Live Bullet by Bob Seger, of course. Yeah, I have in my notes here, Tell Best Buy story, and this is just kind of a humorous thing. Back in the 90s when I worked at Best Buy, there was this older rock dude who ran the media department, in the middle. Like he was just in charge. Nothing got played in the Best Buy if it didn't go through this guy, And so like basically this was like 25 years ago.
You?
I was going to say it was like if you've ever seen the episode of New Girl where Nick Miller meets himself in the future, like it was probably me. Anyways, so I would have been like 19 at the time. And one day I said, now that I'm thinking about this story, it absolutely was me meeting myself in the future. So anyways, I said, I just called over to him. I said, hey, throw on some Seeger. And he goes, I'm not putting Bob Seger on In This Shore. Song's called Turn the Page. Shut up, Bob. He was just so mad. But that song's called Turn the Page. That's like an immediate reference to Live Bullet. Because like the only version of, people may not know it, but the only version of Turn the Page is not the studio version. The only one you ever hear is from Live Bullet. And right before that starts, Bob, song's called Turn the Page. So the guy was just so irate. And he was like, I'm not putting Seeger on. Song's called Turn the Page. Shut up, Bob. It was just great. We did get a mention of yet another thing where someone likes the live version better than the original, which was, I was kind of surprised by this, and this is one I want to get some feedback on. The Ozzy Osbourne Randy Rhoads tribute album, which is a live record that came out after Randy Rhoads passed away, but it was recorded on the very last leg of the tour before Randy passed, and Ozzy waited many years to release it because he didn't want to seem like he was just cashing in. So for many people, that was the very first and in some ways the only time they got to hear Randy playing on an actual live record because he had passed away in the meantime. And I've never really heard anyone say they like those versions better than the studio versions, but we had one user say that every single version on there he likes better than the versions that are on Ozzy's first record. So I would like to get
a big endorsement.
That really is, and I can't say I don't dislike the versions better, but I don't, maybe I've just never even thought about it, like to compare them directly.
Yeah, that's a big thing. To like every single version live on that record better than the original.
And there's only a few songs from the second record because the second Ozzy album I don't think was out yet when they were doing the tour, but they were playing songs from it already. I do know like the song Flying High Again that is on Ozzy's second record. I do like the version better, the Randy Rhoads tribute, than I do in the studio, so I can say that at least. The band The Last Waltz, of course, got more than a few call-outs. I mean, it's one of the most iconic live records and films of all time. Chris Adams,
do what now?
The band The Last Waltz, it would absolutely be something you're not familiar with, but you should be. You should definitely at least watch some of the film. And
all right, I'm writing it down.
Oh.
In pen.
This is a big day. Oh, in ink and everything.
In ink.
Nice. Okay. Chris Adams left a whole bunch of great call-outs, not surprising from the guy that corrected the three of us about the Little Richard biopic. He was talking about a lot of live versions that are better than the original. REO Speedwagon's Riding Out the Storm, like who wants to listen to the studio version after you hear the live one? Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water. Pretty much every Garth Brooks song, like once you hear the live, like Kyle, you were talking about last week, once you heard the live versions of like The Thunder Rolls and Friends in Low Places, do you really ever want to listen to the studio versions ever again?
No, man. Part of what makes all his live stuff so great is him yipping and yelling and running around and interacting with the crowd and of course the extra verses that he adds to the live stuff, which is awesome.
And it seems easy for me to say, oh, well, Friends in Low Places has an extra verse. Oh, Thunder Rolls has an extra verse. But like you said, we'll take Colin Baton Rouge, for example. The first chorus hits and you get him way higher than I could hope to do it. Here we go. Like that keeps you so involved in it. You're just like, are we on our way to hurt someone? This is great.
Yeah, when we saw him live and he started doing the same, like he does the same stuff, and I was like, oh my God, like this is exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it's almost enough to keep Michelle awake. Not quite, but almost enough.
Just a little bit.
Speaking of which, we had a listener catch up on some episodes and finally got to the You Fell Asleep at a Garth Brooks concert, and of course I had to field a bunch of messages about that.
Okay, did you tell them that tequila was involved? Because I feel like you just leave that part out conveniently.
I did, and no, I absolutely did, and the reply was, nah, not like you weren't drinking tequila, but that shouldn't be an excuse. Anyways, get back to Chris's call-outs. MC5, Kick Out the Jams. Like, no one is listening to the studio version of Kick Out the Jams. Lola by the Kinks is one he didn't call out, but Kick Out the Jams reminds me, like, no one is listening to the studio version of Lola after you hear the live version of Lola. And then the number one that he pointed out was I Want You to Want Me by Cheap Trick. Ain't nobody listening to the studio version of I Want You to Want Me after
If anybody hasn't listened to the studio version of I Want You to Want Me, you should go check it out and just be appalled. I feel like it's awful.
Just be mad. Kyle, you got some love with the Metallica live shit Binge and Purge. There was a call out for that. I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of people have forgot about that set, which is insane. When it was originally issued, it came in this what looked like a concert equipment crate, and it came with 3 VHS tapes and 3 CDs in there. And but it was issued in like 94 or 95. It came out the same day as Guns N' Roses' Spaghetti Incident. That's the only reason I remember. So maybe 95, whenever that record came out. But a lot of people forget about that live album, so I was very glad to see somebody call that out. And the same person, Alex, pointed out a live record I haven't heard yet, which is Bruce Springsteen on Broadway.
Do what now?
Bruce Springsteen on Broadway, and I really, really, really want to hear this now. I have Bruce Springsteen live 1975 to 85, and I love that, and I am constantly playing the live versions off of that for people, and so I'm very interested in listening to the Broadway album.
Do you know when you said Bruce Springsteen, I don't know why I was picturing Bruce Willis, and I was like, nope. I'm sorry, do what now?
Nope.
But nope. Bruce Springsteen, Springsteen, not Bruce Willis.
Right.
I got it now.
Just because they have the same first name does not mean it's the same person.
Right.
I know, but like, it took me a second. I was like, what did Bruce Willis ever do on Broadway, and why are we listening to it live? And then I was like, oh, Bruce Springsteen. Got it.
One of the another things that was pointed out by our friend Rhonda on the page was Fleetwood Mac The Dance. Every song on Fleetwood Mac The Dance is far superior to the version in the studio. Even the ones they take liberties with, like a classic like You Make Love and Fun, is almost 100% different. Let's put it this way. The song now starts with banjo when you listen to it on that record, but it's so good. And I mean, Silver Springs is better than the version that was going to come out in the 70s. The version of Landslide to listen to is on that record. The version of The Chain on there is out, like literally every single song that's on there. And then there's two new songs that there are, to my knowledge, there aren't any studio versions of, Bleed to Love Her and Temporary One. And they stand up right next to the rest of, they're doing like Bleed to Love Her right after, say, You Make Love and Fun. And the song stands up against that. Like that's how good they were at that time.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Friend of the show, Joe, pointed out some of the iconic ones, the Allman Brothers at the Fillmore. There's a live album by OAR that he likes a lot. One that he pointed out that I totally forgot about is The Doors Absolutely Live. And what he had to say about that is 100% true. If you've ever listened to The Doors and you're like, oh, that's not quite my thing, or I don't know why everybody loves this. If you listen to Absolutely Live, if nothing else, you'll leave that record going, okay, I understand why everyone loves this.
I like nothing The Doors, so like I'll check it out.
There's some of that record.
Knocks my socks off.
There's some of that record
Joe.
that I think might be a little too much for you. Like I think there's like a 10-minute version of I think there's like a 10-minute version of Gloria. There's like a 10-minute version of the end. Yeah, and I know that doesn't go for you, but like, if nothing else, check out like Break On Through from there. And you'll be like, even if you don't come away and go, oh, I'm a Doors fan, you'll go, oh, I totally get why other people love the Doors, which is great. Joe was another one who called out the Jay-Z Unplugged and the Unplugged series in general, which we'll get into in a little bit. Stevie Ray Vaughan live at Carnegie Hall was another one that got called out, which was pretty sweet. And then one thing I want to stop off at real quick before I have some cool mentions about things that are not live album directly related, but adjacent, is our friend James Porter in California. He went and bought the Eagles' Hell Freezes Over on vinyl after our last show, like because of how we were talking about that record, which is great. Like that's the part of the intention of this show is to, get people listening to music and make those purchases and whatnot, which is pretty sweet. So
absolutely. That's awesome.
Yep. Shout out to James for that and for sharing it with us. And two other cool things I just want to mention real quick was, either of you ever seen the movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I've never watched it.
It sounds familiar.
So it's more or less the life story of this guy named Tim Ripper Owens, who was in a Judas Priest cover band. And when Judas Priest fired Rob Halford, they hired Tim Owens from this Judas Priest tribute band to join Judas Priest. It's all fictional in the movie. Like it's a band called Steel Dragon instead of Judas Priest. And then Mark Wahlberg's character is in a Steel Dragon tribute band and whatever. And he gets picked, because he sounds just like the original lead singer and whatever. But there's a whole bunch of concert footage throughout, fake concert footage. And a listener of the show, Bob Morgano, was in the crowd for when they filmed those scenes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. He reached out after the last episode and told me that, which I thought was sweet. And then another home video release that is very real, and I've watched a billion times since I was a kid, was Def Leppard had a VHS tape come out after the Hysteria tour called In the Round and in Your Face, and it was recorded at a concert in Denver, and our friend Mike Downing was in the crowd for that concert. So I've seen that videotape a million times since like 1988, and it's funny to learn that one of my friends now that I've met since then is in the crowd for that video.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and he said they did Pour Some Sugar on Me twice in the set list because they were...
Seriously?
I know. Yep. Well, please don't make more enemies for yourself on the show. Just smile and nod so I can see it. No one needs to know your opinion on that. On one of the greatest, most catchy rock songs of the entirety of the human history.
You will never hush me up.
Hashtag censor Michelle. So.
Oh my God, we have to make a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, just a
you
picture.
You will never hush me up.
Yeah, a picture of her running away from duct tape for her mouth. So Mike Downing was on that video, which was sweet. And then another one. This is talk about historical. My man was at a Stevie Nicks concert at Red Rocks that was released on home video. So
damn.
I've never even been to Red Rocks, let alone seen Stevie Nicks.
I've seen Stevie Nicks
at the same place.
I've seen Stevie Nicks with and without Fleetwood Mac I've never been to Red Rocks, and I sure as hell haven't been on a Stevie Nicks home video. So, Mike, you have trumped everyone. I hope you enjoy yourself being better than all of us.
You win.
Yep.
Fine.
So,
we can just go home.
like I say, I mean, love all of that feedback. Like, from some of those ones that I listed, like, I know, Michelle, you at least wrote one down. Kyle, you wrote some down. Like, how exciting is that you guys have some stuff that you can go check out now just from the listener feedback?
I enjoy it. I don't like being told what to do, but I do enjoy.
She likes suggestions.
You like
I
gentle,
like suggestions.
gentle suggestions.
Like, it wasn't aimed at me. It was to the show. It was like, look at all these things. And then I just was like, all right, I might check that out on my own free will.
Nice. And then Kyle, you for sure, like when we're done here, I can see you on the messenger. I realize that you have got the cocktails going already. Put that Aerosmith A Little South of Sanity on when we're done recording this episode. And trust me when I tell you, it's going to make your evening.
Hell yeah.
All right. I am going to quickly take us to break, and we'll come back in a minute. And we've got so much more to discuss about live albums. It's really going to be a fun episode. And we've got, again, some very cool news to share at the very end of the episode. So stick with us. And we're back. We are in the second half of episode 18, which is also the second part in our series about live records. And before we go any further with this half, we do have a lot to talk about. One thing I want to mention is that in between us recording this episode and when you guys hear it, one of us has a birthday coming up. Michelle is going to turn, I think, 42. Do I have that?
Shut the fuck up.
Do I have that right? Is it 42? Is it 41? Is it? Oh, I don't want to be an asshole. Is it 41? I'm looking at you on Facebook Messenger, and you do not look a day over 41, so that's my bad.
Shut up.
So, in any case, as we always do, we ask the listeners to reach out, if you would please, after you hear this episode, because it will still be Michelle's birthday month after this episode comes out.
Yeah,
so.
in quarantine, you get a month, maybe longer. That's
Right.
Hashtag happy birthday, Michelle.
Yeah, there you go. So, getting back into
guys.
live records, you're welcome. Kyle wanted us to follow up on something. Last week, I asked if there were any artists that haven't put out a live record yet that you really wish that they had. And at the time, Kyle didn't have a good answer. He just was like, no, really, I think I'm set. And he now has some follow-up. So, Kyle, who is it that you need to put out a live record?
Kings of Leon is who I was talking about. And I don't think that there is an actual live record of theirs, and I couldn't find one when I was thinking about this.
Yeah,
they
me either.
They do have that documentary, Talina Sky or something like that, which shows them playing live, but obviously it's not a live album.
Yeah, it's almost
So
like
I think
Rattlin' Hum by U2, where it's like a documentary of the tour that also has live footage. It's not like a live document. Yeah, but man, you couldn't be more right on that. You know what? I'd put that on my list too. They are fantastic live and really an underrated band these days. And man,
I've never even seen them live. I've just heard about how great that they are live. And I think based upon their studio stuff, they would put out a great live record.
Hell yeah.
They're great live.
Yeah, they are fantastic live. Their later material is so good. And I would love for that to be showcased for sure. So, getting back into what we had planned here, we're going to go over a lot of the things that we hinted at in the first part of this two-parter. One is, are there any live versions of songs that you specifically prefer to the studio one? Now, we've kind of beat I Want You to Want Me to death, but have you guys got any that you would rather listen to the live version before the studio version of a song?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you about the Garth Brooks stuff. There is something about the yipping and yelling and his charisma with the crowd and all that. Like, I would much rather listen to that than the studio version.
I have a short list here. I Want You to Want Me is, of course, on it. And then under that, I have every, in all caps, Garth song. So,
yes, I agree.
Yeah. Do you have any, Michelle? You look like you were giving it some honest thought there just now.
So when you first said, like, preemptively before the show gave us notes, I was like, I need to think about that. And then you brought it up again, and I was like, shit, I didn't think about that. So
classic Michelle. I need to make some sort of drop with that.
The only one I can think of off the top of my head, besides the ones that we had mentioned, is the Let Her Cry by Darius Rucker for the Invitation Only.
Yeah, if anybody hasn't heard that, just go to YouTube and type in Let Her Cry CMT Crossroads, and you will hear why Michelle is making this suggestion.
Yes. it is superior to the. I love the original, but I would much rather listen to the live version from the specific.
that
it's from
performance.
CMT Crossroads. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Russ, do you know, does Casey Musgraves have a live album?
Not yet, but she needs to have one.
I know. I was watching her. Willie Nelson had that, like, I can't remember what it was called. Some weed-themed music festival thing on.
Wait. Start over. Willie Nelson did something and it was weed themed?
Yeah, and so Casey Musgraves was performing on there, and goddamn does she sound good. In her bedroom, on webcam or whatever, it sounded fantastic, and I would love to see a live album.
If you
from her.
remember back when this whole shit show started with this stay-at-home orders and everything, I was talking about that, about how when we see some of these artists, we'll start to separate the men from the boys as far as ability. When you see these people in just their home environment, and there you go. Let's put it this way. There's a reason why somebody like Casey Musgraves is doing a live stream, because she can and possesses the talent, and a lot of maybe her contemporaries aren't, without naming names.
Agreed.
Yeah, I seen another fantastic stream with the Lumineers, all the band members separately, at their own houses, all put together, and it sounded fantastic.
Yep, there you go. As far as specific songs that you like better than the original, I just have a very short list here. Like, it's every Garth song. I Want You to Want Me, of course. Every song on Fleetwood Mac's The Dance. But two that I want to point out. One is, and this is why James Porter bought the album, but Hell Freezes Over by the Eagles has the best version of Hotel California you'll ever hear in your entire life. So that's worth listening to, and I listen to it every single time before the original. And then one that's kind of a deeper one that I never hear anybody talk about, and it's a masterpiece of a song to begin with, is I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For by U2. If you listen to the version that's on Rattle and Hum, which is what I was talking about earlier, the film is part documentary, part live, and the album is part new material, part live tracks from the film. The version of I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For on that album absolutely destroys an already majestic and beautiful version.
Do they play that on the radio?
No, but I put it on a playlist that you and I have, so you've probably heard it 10,000 times.
That's where I've heard it from. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So without getting too deep into it, the song is it's a very religious song. What he hasn't found that he's looking for is faith in something, or in a higher being, and they do it on there with a choir. And the director of the choir writes an extra verse that's specifically about Christian beliefs. Now, I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to enjoy this version, but the feeling that everyone puts into it, and then the crowd singing along and everything, it's wonderful. So you should definitely check that out if you haven't. Now, let's go down the path of some trickery and some not so honest things that are out there. Michelle, last week we talked about not live albums that claim to be live. Did you get a chance to look into that? Because you would not believe how many examples there are.
So what if I told you I meant to?
Well, thankfully, our listeners mostly are having to work from home right now, so nobody was driving and just veered off the road out of sheer shock just now. But
I had 3 hours of the weekend to listen to.
So
great.
Here's the thing. There are very famous examples of this, like, for example, Kiss Alive 1, and I believe 2 falls into this as well, were recorded in the studio. Those live records were recorded in the studio. There's overdubbed crowd noise, and they were put out there to get people interested in Kiss. Like, oh, who is this band that this huge crowd is seeing that I'm missing out on?
What is the benefit of that over just doing it at a concert? I don't understand.
A couple of things. Number one, Kiss at that time would not have had anywhere near as big of a crowd as it sounds like they did. Another thing is because a lot of bands can't quite capture their energy actually in an actual live setting. So they'll do that in the studio, and then, or the biggest thing that happens more often than not, I feel, is pretty harmless, which is just overdubs. Like, the whole band was on fire and one guy hit a bad note, so they take that out of the multi-track. He replays that solo at home. They plug it in. And like the Aerosmith South of Sandy, it's all over that record. Joe Perry played this solo wrong. Steven Tyler hit that note wrong. Who am I kidding? Steven Tyler never hit a bad note. Joey Kramer didn't play the drums right on that song. And, they fix those type of things. That is what happens a lot. But there's so many examples of people, like the Guns N' Roses one makes me so mad, because Guns N' Roses from 1991, 1992, and 1993 were absolutely on fire as a band. I mean, like, yeah, there's a ton of mistakes and whatever, but on the whole, they were incredible. And Axl sounded majestic in 91. He got better in 92. Well, no, I'm sorry. He took a dip in 92, and then he sounded incredible in 93. And if you listen to the Guns N' Roses official live album, all of the tracks, every single one of the tracks is the band playing from 91, 92, or 93. I think there's a couple of tracks from like 88 and 89 or whatever. But all of his vocals were re-recorded in 1999.
So let me ask you this.
Well, just real quick. The point of that for me is it's mixed so poorly. You can hear it as soon as if I right now played Welcome to the Jungle for you guys, you would be like, why does Axl sound so different than the rest of the band? And it's a guy who re-recorded the songs like 6, 7, 8 years after, and his original vocal was fine, Yeah. So what was your question going to be?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, I know there's several degrees of this, but like with a commoner who's not like into that band specifically, or maybe has never seen them live, for the majority, would they even notice? Like for that Aerosmith one, like would you even notice that was happening?
And I'll give you another example in just a minute. That's a crazy egregious example, but no one would ever notice. But for the Kiss record, you wouldn't know unless someone told you that. Aerosmith South Sandy, I believe most people wouldn't know unless you were told. The GNR one, though, next time y'all can come over, I will drop the needle on it. And as soon as he starts singing Welcome to the Jungle, you're going to be like, why does this sound ridiculous?
Then why do you own it?
A lot of reasons. I'm a completist. You know that. I have to order.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Plus, if I'm a completist with bands like Pink Floyd, who have like 15 studio records and a bunch of hits packages and a bunch of live albums. GNR only has 5 albums, so it's really easy to be a completest. And actually, that album on vinyl is extremely rare and worth a lot anyway, so it's kind of a collector's piece. But the most egregious example that I've ever heard of personally was Van Halen's live album Right Here, Right Now, which is a live album they did with Sammy Hagar, and it came out after the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour. And again, it's got a couple of Dave tracks on it. It's got a couple of tracks from Sammy's solo career. It's got a ton of the hits that they did with Sammy, and it sounds amazing. And if I never told you what the deal was with this live record, you would never know. But check this business out. After the tour was over, they went back into the studio to fix the little thing. One thing led to another, and Alex and Michael and Eddie had re-recorded so much of every song that now Sammy's vocals were either out of time or out of tune, because he's singing to like what was going on that night. And the song has changed so much. It was basically recreated in its entirety in the studio. So Sammy sounded totally wrong. So they called Sammy and they were like, well, now you got to come sing the whole album again. So Sammy Hagar, being the badass that he is, here's what Sammy Hagar did. He went and had a bunch of beers, went into the studio, had him play the record front to back, and sang it straight through. Like not a bunch of not a bunch of takes, and sang it straight through. So if you listen to that Van Halen live record, every one of Sammy's vocals was cut in the studio, but it was done in the same setting as if you had seen them live. Like he came out after a couple of drinks. I forget what they opened with on there. Probably, I don't know, Pound Cake maybe. Started with that and went straight through to the end. So as you listen to it, his voice wears more because he's doing the show just like you had heard it.
That's cool, at least. Are there any live albums that actually don't do this at all?
Well, I think, and one of the biggest suggestions we talked about last week, one of the biggest topics we talked about last week, and we got suggestions for this week too. Unplugged. I think by and large, most Unplugged albums are untouched. They're pretty much as they happened that night. I know a lot of bands do a full rehearsal for Unplugged, and some bands redid certain songs as the show was going. But what you hear on that album is that band playing that song that night. Almost any newer bands that are on the come up, if they have a live piece, it's generally like you and I talked about that Lone Bellow 7-inch. That's not retouched. Like that is how they sounded coming out of the amps and the mics.
I understand why it's done. You're just like blowing my mind a little bit.
Yeah, well, and then my other thing too is this, and this is what I want to ask you guys about it. And Kyle, I'll start with you. Does all of that even matter if you know the band can deliver? Like, for example, I could play for you Welcome to the Jungle from 91, 92, and 93, and you'd be like, holy shit, GNR was amazing live. So does it really matter that they overdubbed the live record, or does it matter to you?
It really does not. No. I'm going to say it does not matter to me. If it sounds good, it sounds good. If they sound good, if you know that they sound good live, or you heard that they sound good live, the chances are that they do sound good live. So the fact that you heard a manipulated version of a live record, I don't think is the end of the world.
Yeah, and that Aerosmith record, like I told you, when you listen to that, you're never going to notice what wasn't there originally, at least in my opinion. Michelle, what about you? Like, let me put it this way: would you prefer it if I never tell you about this ever again?
Yeah, if you would just keep that for me from now on, that'd be great.
Sure.
I guess if it was noticeable, like if I was like, why does this sound so weird? Like, then
and as always, GNR is always the example of
the exception to the rule.
Yeah, of something done poorly. Like I could play that Van Halen record for you, and you would never know what I just told you about it. But as soon as I put on the GNR live album, you would be like, "This is wrong."
A part of me was wondering, like when you listen to Live Shit, Binge and Purge from Metallica, they're playing in Mexico City, and typically when they play those, like when they play Mexico City or whatever down south, they have those huge venues they play at. And when you listen to that, it sounds like they're playing for 200,000 people. And I'm like, part of me wanted to be like, man, they added crowd noise to this, but I really don't know. I'm assuming that they, it being Metallica, that they played to a gigantic crowd.
Yeah, no, definitely for that. Like by that time, before the Black Album tour, Metallica was already easily playing to several nights in arenas. Like on the Injustice for All tour, they were playing like 2 and 3 nights in places like L.A., New York, Detroit, Chicago. So they were playing to 60, 70,000 people in each city already on that tour before they got to the Black Album tour, where they were playing to hundreds of thousands of people. So, and yeah, there are bands who absolutely pad the crowd noise on their live records, but I get why.
It boggles my mind because I've never been to a show that had that many people at. Like the Garth Brooks show is probably the one that had the most people at it that I've ever been to.
Yeah, you were close to 100K there too. You were just shy at 70.
So it blows my mind when you see these like giant, like when they play in like other countries and stuff, where like there's one show and everybody comes to it, and like that's crazy to me.
Like when Roger Waters on his own played The Wall, front to back in Berlin in 1990. If you look at that crowd, there was an estimated 400,000 people in the crowd just to hear Roger Waters do The Wall.
Yeah, that is incredible. That's incredible.
And what's funny is when you look at the picture, about halfway back through the crowd, there's another tower of speakers. Because of the way sound travels, they had to like reset the sound to get it to the rest of the crowd at the same time that it was happening on the stage.
Oh, that's awesome. Because
the show is so visual. So like when the teacher come out or whatever, they didn't want the back of the crowd to be halfway through, the song before it. That stuff like that is crazy to me how that happens.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So here's another question Michelle probably didn't think about. Do you guys have
that should be a segment?
Yep. Yeah. Things Michelle didn't think about. So what, if any, do you guys have live albums that are important to you personally?
I have a list, and it's probably 2 things.
Okay, that's fine. Mine is a list of 1. So
it's the only. I will say that my list is the only live list of records that I would ever choose to listen to over to the originals that I know of. Like I haven't obviously listened to a lot of live stuff, so it's important to me. I mean, not because like of sentimental reasons. I just think that it sounds better. Is that
sure? Yeah.
Okay. So like that Mumford live at Red Rocks, like we were talking about, it just is an amazing. I feel like I get chills every time I listen to it. Like I could imagine being at Red Rocks when this is happening.
Yeah, because people who aren't Mike Downing have to imagine it.
Right. Yep. So I can only imagine that it's epic. Dashboard Confessional did an unplugged. Was it MTV Unplugged or whatever? Mm-hmm. That most of those versions I like way better than the studio versions.
Nice.
And then that Queen live at Wembley Stadium. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
Like
that's, and I'm sure you've heard me say this hundreds of times, but that's the King playing on his home court is what the sound of that record is.
And it sounds like it, and you can just tell how excited he is to be there, and those live versions are epic.
Now, I will say this, to my knowledge, those are untouched. Or I should say that. They did 2 shows at Wembley, and they picked the best songs from both shows to make the one record. But to my knowledge, that's untouched. Kyle, over to you. Do you have some live records that are your favorites?
I did mention some last episode, but I will re-go over the ones that I did already mention and then add to that. John Mayer, Where the Light Is, when he played at the Nokia Theater in L.A. Holy shit. Listening to that made me realize that he is
Immensely talented.
Yeah, he can just slay on the guitar like all day long. It took that record for me to realize that he wasn't just some like douchey guy that like sings love songs, and he is actually super, super talented.
The best way I can express that, and this is what I always tell people about John Mayer, is Where the Light Is made me like John Mayer in spite of himself.
Yes.
So
yeah, I agree.
Couldn't agree more.
I got Metallica, Live Ship, Bench and Purge. Obviously, we talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
I love hearing, much like I love hearing Garth Brooks interact with the crowd, I love hearing the crowd get as excited as I am over the songs they're singing as, you know.
I can't hear the studio
awesome.
version of For Whom the Bell Tolls without me, and you've probably seen this in the car on the way to the casino. If the studio version of For Whom the Bell Tolls comes on, I automatically have to go, okay, Mexico City, hey, because of that live record. So I totally know what you mean.
Next up, Nirvana, obviously Unplugged and Live in New York.
For sure.
That's just a great rendition of a bunch of their stuff. Notable ones, Marilyn Manson, Last Tour on Earth, and Slipknot 9.0. Mostly because I've seen both of them live, and I can relate directly to how it is and how it sounds, and the energy that you get from seeing them live makes me like the record more.
I truly think that after this episode, you're going to have another favorite because how much you like Aerosmith. I think South of Sanity is going to be like up there for you. For me personally, I'm going to split this up a little bit for me. For like live albums that mean a lot to me is Elvis Live at Madison Square Garden, because it was the first LP that I ever bought. And I've talked about it in the previous episode, but I owe so much about my love of music to that live album. And it is one thing that I can always put on. And people, like you said on the last episode, Kyle, where you cited as an example of like, I didn't know what a badass Elvis was until I heard Elvis do live stuff, you know. Another one was Pink Floyd's Delicate Sound of Thunder, which came out in either 89 or 90, I think 90. I owe my entire Pink Floyd allegiance to that record. That record got me and was absolutely the gateway drug to everything Pink Floyd for me. I honestly think, though, my favorite live record for sentimental reasons and sound and everything is Pink Floyd's Pulse, which came out in 1995, because I was at the tour before it. It was the first time I got to see Pink Floyd live, and the last time the four of them toured, the three of them toured. Roger wasn't with them on that tour. He's still alive, but one of the three that was on that tour has passed away since. It's got every version on it is like the best sounding version of a Pink Floyd song, you know, so all the way across the board, I think that's probably my go-to. As far as iconic live records, like, do you guys have any examples you can think of that maybe you don't even have anything to do with, like you don't love the artist or whatever, but you just think of when you think of live album, is there any, like, I'm going to say Live Bullet, probably. Kyle, do you have any that you can think of that just pop as soon as you think live album, like what pops into your head?
I would say Nirvana Unplugged in New York is an iconic live album.
For sure. I hesitate to call that a modern example because it's 20-some years old now. But
that's true.
But I would say it's what I would classify as a modern classic. Like, it's within the last 20 years, but absolutely. I bet a lot of people said the same thing you did before you said it.
Yeah.
What about you, Michelle?
Again?
Like, what's an iconic live record to you? Like, when you first think live album, what's the first thing that pops in your head?
One of the ones that I didn't mention earlier was Johnny Cash. Was it San Quentin?
Yep.
I feel like that
and Folsom Prison.
Yes, both of those. I did listen to them. They didn't make my list of like, oh, I'd rather listen to this than that, but I do enjoy them. So.
They are absolutely iconic too. So
yeah, absolutely. So like for me, I pulse the Kiss Alive series on any number of Elvis live records, Sinatra at the Sands, and then the Last Waltz, Live Bullet, the whole Unplugged series, Nugent, Double Live Gonzo. Like, those are the ones that I think of when someone immediately mentions a live record. And then the last one I had on my list was the Cash Prison records, San Quentin and Folsom Prison. So we'll get back to something we talked about a little bit in the last episode and a little bit in the first half of this one. Why are there no good live rap albums other than Jay-Z Unplugged? We'll go to you first, Kyle, because you seem to be very decided on this. So why do you think there are no good live rap records?
I think maybe there could be if they did more unplugged stuff like Jay-Z did. But because of how live rap is set up with the hype man, the backing tracks, and like it just sounds like most of the time sounds like a bunch of craziness going on stage. Yeah. And it's not, I don't know, it's just not as well organized as what a rock band is, I guess you could say. It's not as put together, and it just sounds not good live. I don't know.
No, I hear that, and I have some notes on why I think rap albums don't translate well, and I think your example of Jay-Z Unplugged is part of it, like the size of the crowd feeds into some of the notes that I have.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have any opinion on this?
I think it's a lot of experience. Like, it's very hard to capture. I mean, I haven't been to maybe 2 rap shows ever, but it's a lot of the experience. It's not all vocal. I feel like there's the hype man and there's stuff happening and people are, going crazy in the crowd. And I feel like it's way more interactive sometimes than a normal rock concert.
I agree with that. People are not going to a rap show for the quality of music that's coming out of whoever's rapping. They're going there for the experience of the actual show itself.
So here's my thoughts on it, and you tell me what you think, Kyle. And it ties directly into a lot of both of what you were just saying. One is that a lot of times, because of the size of the crowd, rap tends to have a very low tone of vocal, like it's people just in their speaking voice, and to get amplified up over a crowd like that, almost 9 times out of 10 they have to yell, and to start that from that point, it sounds 100% different than what you heard in the studio in the first place. Then on top of that, you take other things, like in a live setting, it's really hard to stay exactly on the beat, and rap is 100% reliant on staying exactly on the beat. So what do you think about that, Kyle?
Yeah, I agree. And there are some situations where, like, there'll be, like, rap artists that go on, like, Saturday Night Live when they have a live band with them, and, like, it's a little bit better, but, like, it's a more controlled environment than having, 20,000 people screaming at you and you trying to remember your lyrics while you're jumping up and down and doing backflips, and you got another guy behind you saying every other word from what you're saying, and, like, it just becomes, like, craziness.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and just so anyone knows who might be listening who's not overly familiar with rap, when we say hype man, the reason why a hype man is important to a rap performance is because if you're somebody like Eminem and your whole flow is based off of rapid fire, you can't do that humanly live, where you can do it in the studio, where you can just hit the end of the start of the next verse at the end of the last one. So you have to have someone usually there to hit those words to get the turnaround, and that's what the hype man is for.
And there are differences too. Like, sometimes the hype man is the DJ who's actually playing the music, and then other times the rapper, like the main star, will have other people on stage with him that are then picking up the lyrics, to rap with him as well.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different uses for hype man, and yeah, me personally, I love the old style, like the where the hype man is the DJ. That's just rad.
Michelle, when you mentioned about the environment, like, I've been on stage for a rap show and I could not tell you if it was good or not, because I was so involved in, like, the craziness that was going on stage. I couldn't tell you what songs he sang, and I couldn't tell you if it was good or not, because it was awesome to me because I was up there and, yeah, just enjoying the craziness.
Yes, I agree.
Solid. Also, if you've been on stage at a rap concert, Kyle, that forces me to ask the question, when is Lil Kyle's album coming out?
Oh, TBD, man. There's been in the studio a lot, and been trying to get it going, but
yeah, well, I understand. Just say soon, like so many artists. I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of quick questions here for you guys. Number one is, do you think live albums are still relevant? And by that, I mean 2 things. Like, if you're a new artist, would it mean anything if you put out a live record? Or does, The Dance or Live Bullet or any of these classics we've talked about, are they even relevant to music listeners now? Michelle, what do you think? Absolutely.
I feel like people who are craving new content from their artists, and even though it's just a live record, if they've never seen them live, or they can't go to the shows, or especially now with the way things are, I feel like it's extremely relevant. They're not all great. Some of them are awful. But, like, I would love a full Lone Bellow live album. And even though I've seen them tons of times, I would like to relive it in my house,
Just the other night, I was playing the Lone Bellow for a friend of mine, I think for the first time. And I said to him, just so you know, I'm going to play all live tracks because that's the best way for you to get into them. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so I definitely think that it is. Not everyone is great, and sometimes they're not needed, and sometimes they're just dumb. But I feel like the right ones definitely still have their place.
Absolutely. Kyle, over to you. What do you think?
That is a double yes from me. If you're a new artist, you absolutely at some point should be putting out a new live album, because there are people, your fans, that want to hear that. I am a minority of not fancying live albums very much. A lot of people like them, and a lot of people want to hear you kill it live.
Yeah, well, it goes without saying, I totally agree with both of you. And actually, one thing you pointed out, Michelle, reminded me of something I didn't put down, but somebody left on our Facebook page. One thing that's awesome is when artists put out a special edition of an album, like a seminal album years later, and they release with it a live show that we've never heard before from that time, which is sweet. Like the one that immediately springs to mind for me is Def Leppard did a reissue of Pyromania, the album before Hysteria. When they did a reissue of it, it came with a full show that was done on the Pyromania tour. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, which is sweet for a couple of reasons. One, you hear the band in action at that time, and two, their guitar player Steve Clark has passed away since then. So for me to get a whole show with Steve Clark is awesome. You know, me and many Def Leppard fans.
Yeah, and to answer the second part of your question is old live records are absolutely still relevant because that Metallica record came out how long ago, and it's still fantastic. And the Bob Seger and Pink Floyd and Kiss and all those records are old and fantastic.
Yeah.
Still.
So this last question is kind of a if or for you guys. I'll start with you, Kyle. Is there one live album out there you would tell everyone to listen to? Or if you don't have one you would tell everyone you would listen to, what have you learned from these two, from all the feedback we got from everybody? Like, what live album will you run and listen to?
If I had to recommend, if someone was like, oh man, I don't know about that live record, or I don't know about that particular band, I feel like Nirvana has a set core of fans, and then people know about them because of how big they were and what happened with Kurt and everything, but they don't really necessarily like their music. And I feel that if they were to listen to that live Unplugged in New York record, that they might be able to grasp onto them in a different fashion from the hard, crazy stuff that you would normally, expect from Nirvana.
Right on. Yeah, that's a fantastic one for everyone to check out. If you haven't, you need to. Michelle, same for you. Do you have one you would tell everybody to listen to? And if not, do you have one that you're going to listen to now after all the feedback we got?
Any of the ones that I mentioned previously, like the Live Red Rocks, Mumford, or the Dashboard Confessional, which I know is not anyone's jam, but the Unplugged I like it a lot. But the one I'm going to go listen to, I really want to listen to, I really want to hear what the Van Halen live one sounds like, knowing how the backstory and how it was recorded, because I don't think I would have ever, not that I heard it before, but I think it would be very interesting to hear, that he had to do it. He just did it front to back in the studio as if it were live.
Yeah.
Speaking of that,
go ahead.
I love old rock star stories because that 100% would not happen nowadays. Any current musician who's a rock star now would be like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. But, he's a badass, went in there and recorded the entire thing like a badass. And That's awesome.
Well, that's Sammy for you. Guy's in his 70s and he's still rocking out and sounding amazing. I will tell you, Michelle, make sure to look for Van Halen live right here, right now. It's got a picture of a house, like a wrecked house with a Jesus statue in the cover, a Jesus statue in the front yard on the cover. Don't listen to Van Halen live in Tokyo, which is funny because Van Halen live in Tokyo is a live album that came out since then, since David Lee Roth has returned to the band. David Lee Roth didn't overdub any of his vocals. He made it absolutely clear that he wanted his 100% live vocals used, and everybody complained. Yeah,
sounds about right.
Yeah, it is what it is. So for me personally, for those of you who heard me gush over Pink Floyd Pulse, I would tell everybody my suggestion would go back and listen to Delicate Sound of Thunder from Pink Floyd, because it's laid out much different than most Pink Floyd live experiences are, and you can really hear them kind of guessing their way through how to be a band without Roger Waters. So I would tell a lot of people to listen to that one. And for me personally, from the suggestions we got, I'm absolutely going to check out Bruce Springsteen, not Bruce Willis, but Bruce Springsteen on Broadway. So
I wonder if there is a Bruce Willis on Broadway one.
Probably. You can find out and let us know.
I'm on it.
Right on. So that wraps up our 2-part discussion on live albums. I can't stress enough how much we greatly appreciate all of the feedback and everything, and everybody listening and supporting the show. I do want to say I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but we're working on some really cool advancements for the show that we're going to share with everybody here in the next couple of weeks. So as always, we thank everybody. And actually, we've mentioned support quite a bit lately, where you can support us at anchor.fm/Infectious Group Podcast. And we've had a couple of people reach out and support us just in the past few days, like commit to supporting us for so many, for as little as $1 a month, which we so much appreciate. So you're about to start seeing some advancements from that coming very, very, very soon. As far as next week goes, this coming Friday, you guys will have yet another bonus episode to look forward to. This time it's going to be Dermot Kennedy Without Fear versus Beach Boys Pet Sounds, which is sweet. If you haven't caught up on the tournament episodes, please do so now because it's about to get interesting. Then next weekend, we're going to record the episode that's going to go out to everybody a week from the day you're hearing this one. And we are going to be talking about garage rock. So everything from Louie Louie all the way up to the White Stripes and Ty Ty Siegel, and we have an exciting interview lined up for that. We're going to be talking to a new garage band out of Israel, of all places, called the Dodies. They're insanely talented. It's two guys in the band, and each of them are doing a minimum of 3 things at once on every song that you're hearing, and it still maintains that garage rock sound. So
yeah, I started checking them out today, and it's really good. I'm excited to hear the rest of it and talk to them.
Hell yeah. What's funny is so far from what I've heard of their record, I can't remember the last time I heard such an accurately titled record. It's called It's One Hell of a Ride. And so far the record is one hell of a ride. Have you listened to any of it just yet, Kyle?
No, not yet. I am excited to check it out.
I do. From the word go, I think you're gonna really dig it. So that is some stuff you all have to look forward to, and we are very, very, very happy to provide it for y'all. So we appreciate you guys checking in with us on Facebook, social media, and everything, and we will be back at you next week. As always, without music, life would be a mistake.
Bye.
Bye.